Welcome to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast, the place where leaders come to learn how to create a workplace where people would be crazy to leave. Join your hosts, Holley and Tony McConnell, as they serve up stories, strategies, and real talk that you can actually use today. Let's get into it.
All right, welcome back to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast. I can't believe it's time for another conversation already.
I know. It just seems like it's just been a few days.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump right in. We're going to just do a pretty quick conversation here, I think, on what we would say is the connective tissue of all of our 6 components in an organization. And what is that?
Trust.
Yeah. You got a lot of passion around this topic, I think.
Yeah, it's very dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a hard one to build and it's an easy one to destroy. So
yes.
it's one that if you don't get it right, you're not going to get any of the other 6 components right.
That's right. And so we've got our 6 components, which I'll say again, I probably need to say them for a while until we have them down, but we got leadership, feedback, recognition, growth, compensation, and balance. I probably say them in a different order every time.
And
I don't know.
That's exactly the way I wanted it to be when we were talking about it. Is I didn't want to have an acronym that was easy to remember because I didn't want it to be one more important than the other, because they're not. They're all 6 very important. And trust, like you said, it really touches all of them. It
touches all of them. So that's why, I guess we could have listed trust as a component, but the fact is each one of the components I just named has some element of trust tied into it.
Yeah, if you don't have a pretty healthy trust, you're going to be a failure at least one of those, if not all of them. Yeah.
So today maybe we'll start with just a kind of overview about trust, and then let's look at each component and talk about how trust weaves into it. Okay. So a question we have asked ourselves that probably employees are asking, and they're probably doing it on an unconscious level. I don't think they're sitting here thinking this question right.
Every day.
But their actions would show it, is this question: is it safe to fully invest myself here?
Yeah.
So why do you think that's a critical question for employees? Is it safe to fully invest myself here?
I think if the trust isn't there where it needs to be, or if there is a question of whether or not the trust is there, it's going to always be, you're not going to be given 100%. The engagement's going to be low. People are going to be looking, like I say, if 50% of the people are at any time actively looking for a new job while they're working. At work are looking for a job. And then the next 30% are also thinking about looking for a job. Mm-hmm.
So it's going to affect engagement overall.
Yeah.
And that makes me think of some of these conversations we've had lately where people think they can separate kind of what, the human element from your job. So do you think people can truly just show up at a job where they don't feel trusted or they don't trust their leaders and really do their job well?
Not do their job well.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be very transactional.
Yeah.
And you can survive transactional for a period of time, but not long term. It's not a long term way to go. I hate that word. Can we take that out? A long term way to go. That's freaking stupid.
Okay, so
trust me, that's stupid. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were saying versus transactional. You said,
oh yeah, transactional.
They can survive for a little while.
Yeah.
You want to start over with that question?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a question that we've kind of got here in our notes that's a good one, and I think people are asking themselves this question, though maybe not consciously, but somehow they are asking it. And the question is it safe to fully invest myself here? So why do you think that is a critical question for employees?
Well, one of the things that I remember hearing years ago is that people don't leave organizations, they leave people. Mm-hmm. And people don't leave, organizations or people that they trust near as often as they do ones they don't. But I know that in my personal life, at any time that I felt like there was a lacking of trust, I've always sort of had one foot out the door.
Yeah.
And I think, people do. I think if you don't feel like you can be your honest self and you can truly invest yourself in an organization and that goes back to the why too. It goes to the why of, if I don't feel the trust, then you're not ever going to have my why. You're not going to be my why.
Yes. And do people really need it? Are they able to separate feelings, of trust or other things and just show up and do a great job? Or is it crucial?
I think it's crucial. And I think you can fake it for a little while.
Yeah.
You'll fake it till you make it, but
Yeah.
you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
You're going to fake it till you get out and find something else to do, where you feel valued and feel trusted. It's just like you said, it goes, that trust interweaves through our 6 components.
Yes.
You're not going to take feedback near as well from someone you don't trust. If you don't trust that they have your best interest at heart when they're giving you the feedback.
Yes. Yeah. So you've said that, not having trust would lead somebody to work in a transactional way. What do you mean by that?
I think you just go in as long as, if the compensation's what you think it needs to be, you'll go to work and you'll do your work for a period of time. But it's just not a great model to stay 100% transactional.
Yes. Yeah. It's not sustainable maybe
Not
over the long
very
haul.
sustainable, yeah.
I think it would be draining for a person to try to separate.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah. Because relationships are going to come into it.
Yep.
Well, so let's just kind of look then at our 6 components, and we'll start with leadership. Here's a question every leader should ask. Instead of asking, do my people trust me? Which is okay to ask that one too, but maybe a better way is, what am I doing today that makes trust easier or harder for my team? How does that help a leader sort of chunk it down a little bit into a manageable bite size?
One of my favorite analogies for that and the trust, and I think our title of this podcast is, that it's the
currency
of so it's kind of like, I think Brene Brown uses this analogy that she got somewhere else of a bowl full of marbles. And it's like every time you do something that helps build trust, you put a marble in. Mm-hmm. But then when you do something that erodes trust, you don't just take one marble out. You take a handful, a god-awful handful of marbles out. So, it takes a lot of attaboys to make up for those all shits that you just had, those all shit moments.
It's true. I mean, it's just like with feedback. If you give one negative comment, or any of us who have ever been evaluated on a thing, the one negative thing is going to stand out far more than the 10, 15 wonderful things.
Yes, it is. And trusted and built with the big grand things. Yeah, there is a level of trust that comes when you do something grand, but it's not the everyday mundane things are where trust is built. And that's where you're putting the deposits in, the currency back in, or the marbles in, or the M&Ms back into the jar.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work, but a lot of small gestures for sure.
But it doesn't take a lot to erode it. And that's the key is as hard as it is to build, it's much harder to rebuild. We haven't even delved into that. That's another podcast down the road as how to fix an eroded trust environment.
Mm-hmm. So thinking back over your career in leadership, can you think of a time where you felt the most trusted, and who was the lead? Like, what did that leader do for you to help you feel truly trusted?
I think not to evade the question, but to kind of expand it is the times. I'm going to say, instead of a time, the times, and you and I talked about this earlier, is that delegation is the best way, I think, to show that you trust somebody, and meaningful, delegating meaningful tasks, and not just micromanaging that task, not even delegating a task, delegating an outcome, where you are given, really, because that's the biggest way you can show that you trust someone, is you delegate something that's important to you.
Yeah.
And I think throughout my career, those were the times that I felt really, really trusted. And but trust is a two-way street.
Yes.
It's a reciprocal thing. Nobody's going to trust you if you don't show a level of trust in them.
Yes. Yeah, that leads me to ask a question. It's sort of like people ask, is love a choice or a feeling? Yeah. Is trust a choice or a feeling?
Yes.
Okay.
You choose to feel you choose the trust. It's just like delegating. If you wait to delegate until somebody's ready, they're never going to be ready. And if you wait till trust till somebody's ready, they're probably not going to be ready. Yeah. You have to choose to trust. But some of that goes, in the business community or in a job, you hire based on your core values. You hire, you hire someone with like values, somebody that meets your company's core values, not just the ones that are pictures on the wall, but ones that you really hold true.
Yes. And that's something I think in our hiring and onboarding at Dow Smith Company, we're investigating that more and more of like, it's not just about the skills a person brings to the job. They may have top-notch skills for that role.
You can teach skills, though.
Yeah, but you can't, if their core values don't match, there is going to be a trust issue
going to be a problem
right off the bat.
Yep.
But, how do you test for that? Like somebody can come in and say, oh, sure. You could tell them, hey, here's our core values: passion, caring, hustle, and detail. And they go, oh, yeah, I do all that. But how can you truly know and trust that a person is a match for your core value?
I think you have to get very, very specific in, the conversations you have. And you can't be a one and done hiring process.
Okay.
You got to really make sure you delve into that person's life and go to lunch with them, see how they talk to the person at the restaurant. Yes. See how they talk to other people besides you.
Yes.
Take them to the job site to where there's other people working, where there's subs working, and just see the interaction.
Yes. Yeah, those are the small gestures too, like you're talking about, sort of watching the small things and what a person does to see if they're going to line up, and that will cause trust to increase for sure. So let's start with leadership, because that's kind of even though they're all equally important, we start with leadership a lot. You would say that trust
starts with leadership.
Yeah, if trust begins at the top, why is that? How does leadership set the tone?
I think one of the biggest tones, like we sort of already talked about, is by trusting others. Mm-hmm. You're not going to build trust until you can show trust, and also by delegating, and checking on the little things, asking, how was the tournament this weekend? Yes. How was the traffic this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, connecting on a personal
level, getting to know your people.
Yes.
I don't know how you can fully trust someone until you at least know them pretty well.
Yes. And that's been a source of conversation for us too, right? What are those boundaries between professional and personal? And I think that now more than ever, they are. And I think now more than ever, there is a little cultural change in the generations too, where I think older generations might have said, you go, you show up, you're professional. Don't ask me about my weekend. Yeah, but I think a lot of the younger generation, it's just all integrated. Their life is integrated. Technology has forced that, in some ways. So, you can trust a person more by showing that you care about their life outside of that place, where they're spending 8 hours working or whatever it is. Okay, well, let's jump into feedback real quick. Because feedback. So when you think, just define that real quick. How would you define for Irresistible Workplace what we think feedback is?
What we call feedback. Yeah. It's, to me, feedback is really one of the pulses of the Irresistible Workplace. When you delegate or you expect something from someone, you don't just let them flounder. Give them honest feedback and accept honest feedback. And probably the accepting of the honest feedback is the one that catches you, especially as far as way trust is involved. If people don't feel safe in giving feedback up and not just down, the trust isn't there.
Yes.
And feedback there has to be a level of trust when giving feedback and receiving feedback, in that people know it's coming from the right place, from the heart, not from just always the bottom line. Is the bottom line involved? Yes. We're not crazy. Businesses don't they're not altruistic. They're not, you've got to make some profit to stay in business and keep people employed and take care of their families. So But feedback has to have a level of trust involved, a high level of trust involved, or people are not going to accept it as being honest and coming from the right place.
And how that ties back into leadership seems like one of our first table groups where we talked about feedback. I could see that everybody in there was thinking about like annual reviews, and they were thinking that way from a leader, like I'm supposed to give my people feedback. And I was approaching it more from, what about receiving it from
feedback
from them? And and if you can do that in a way that's humble and open and a little bit vulnerable, I think you can build a lot of trust quickly.
Very quickly, and it only takes about one feedback session
receiving
going
it
wrong, to erode trust.
That's
really fast.
That's right.
And also not just with one person. That's the kind of thing that gets out and erodes trust throughout the organization.
Yeah, a lot of people shudder when they hear the word feedback because they automatically think of criticism.
Yeah.
But that would lead, I'm going to jump down to growth on this one, because true feedback in a trusting way that goes both ways, like you said, two-way street, will truly help someone grow, don't you think?
It helps them grow. And then also when you are pushing someone to try to grow or to learn a new skill and stuff, if they know it's coming from a very trusting relationship, they're more apt to take that growth and that growth mindset.
Yeah. I watched, I know I've shared this with you, but just recently I've watched my daughter's volleyball coach give her some feedback, and it was pretty direct, like, hey, my daughter expressed, I'm uncomfortable in this new position that I'm playing. And the feedback was, you were beat out by two other people.
Yeah.
But she went on to encourage her to say, I know you're going to get it. I know you're going to get it quickly. You've improved quickly in the past, and I thought, wow, that was really direct. And I was nervous about how, my daughter would receive that, but she stepped up the challenge, because I think she felt, okay, yeah, I didn't, maybe the feedback was, I didn't excel the way I thought I was, but now I have another avenue to try. And I see her growing already from it. So that's how would that look in the workplace?
I got some feedback when I was in flight school.
Okay.
I was a young lieutenant, and I've been in flight school all of about a week. I had about an hour and a half of flight time in a Huey helicopter.
Okay, hour and a half.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know if it was that much. And had this instructor pilot, and he was an older guy, probably about my age now, but very likable guy, and we got along really good, because before we flew, we spent a lot of time with him, just learning things about the aircraft, and he was just one of those guys you liked, and he was a very irresistible person, just a really good grandpa type guy. And so I'm over down at Fort Rucker trying to hover this helicopter, and I got it facing this tree off the side of the airfield, and I'm trying to hover, and I'm sitting there, and this thing is going around like crazy, and I'm all over the place. And he said, Lieutenant, this thing's eating your lunch. And I took that as, it came from a good place, because he was just a really good guy. But right after that, I locked it in pretty good, but it was some very timely feedback, but it came from a really good place. It wasn't like, if you don't hover this thing today, I'm sending you home, you're washing out.
Exactly.
It was, this thing is eating your lunch, and I'm like, skirt, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, that's a way of telling the truth, but the way you say it is everything. You know what I mean? Like the way, a little bit of humor, a little bit of acknowledgement of, I'm over here sitting here with you, And
anybody's out there laughing at me because I was having a hard time hovering, you need to get you a handful of some helicopter at some time.
Really, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine the type of, for one, like you said, the trust that would be involved in that's a dangerous learning.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing to fly, and, there's a lot to learn. And knowing that you talked about trust being a two-way street. Did you sit in the copter with him first, and then you swap seats? Like, how does that work?
Well, both seats have controls, the same controls.
Yeah.
And, early on, I'm sure he was all over him. He was hanging on to him with me. I'm sitting here, if you can't see me, I'm flying right now with my both hands.
Got your
on
hands
my
and feet going.
And I'm sure he probably had had both hands really on
Yes.
the controls, you know, so that I couldn't get too far gone.
Oh, I'm liking this analogy. That may be a book someday, Tony. Right? How does piloting a helicopter, make sense in the workplace when you've got one person who's done it and
I'll
had
show
the
you.
experience?
It's like taking this ball right here and trying to put another one on top.
On top of it, yeah, and balancing it.
Yeah,
But
so
how
funny.
he had to, I'm sure. So, how many flight hours, do you finish before you get a certain level of certification? Like how,
Well, you graduated flight school at a little less than 200 hours.
See, so 1.5 is one thing, and you at 200 hours, it wasn't eating your lunch anymore,
Not
right?
quite as bad.
Right.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you think about that makes me think of trust as a process, and not a one and done.
Yeah.
It's got to be an ongoing thing, and it's got to be a two-way street where, maybe in the beginning a leader is holding on a little more tightly to the controls, but as they see their person growing in confidence, maybe letting the hands loosen that grip a little bit. So, which then leads way to recognition. So, you've got trust gives praise meaning. Let's think about that for a minute. Trust gives praise meaning, and I'll just read some of our notes here. Recognition without trust feels performative, but when trust exists, recognition feels genuine, specific, and earned, and people believe it. So how does recognition really work with trust?
I think where recognition becomes questionable is when it's very formulated, I guess. It's where it's okay, we know on this day everybody's going to get an award. We're going to give somebody an award. We're going to give everybody an award. I've been places where, when you left, you had to make sure everybody got an award. So it was pretty hard to individualize those. And if I trust the person that's giving me the award, I know that, they're giving it to me because they don't feel that they need to or that they have to. They feel like they want to.
Yes.
And it goes into if you don't love your people or at least like your people, then you're the wrong person.
Yeah.
And I was reading something this morning and it said if people don't love the organization, you need to look and see what's wrong with the organization. And if you don't love, as a leader, you don't love your people, you need to look at yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same. I think, recognition, people can see through BS.
Yeah.
And people see through it a lot quicker than we, just like kids can and your dogs can. People can see through BS really quick.
Yeah. In one of our episodes, we talked about how hard recognition is for some leaders. They shared with us, it's hard for me to give recognition. I didn't get a lot of it growing up or whatever. Yeah. But I like what you just said. When a leader you trust gives you recognition, they want to give it, not they feel like they have to give it. Yeah. And I think maybe that's the thing to remember. If you feel like recognizing somebody and you want to, do it. Yeah. Like what's holding you back in that moment? You might fear, they might take this and go to their head and they might, make a mistake but if you want to give it, give it.
And you have to give it and think, I think you have to think that it's being received in the same manner as you're giving it. If you're giving it with a loving heart and with a very appreciative heart and you saw something that, even if it's not 100% noteworthy, at least, they made an effort, so give it. And I rarely have I seen recognition go wrong.
Go wrong. That's good.
Rarely have I seen recognition go wrong, even when I thought it might go wrong.
Yes.
It didn't.
Yes, that's great. That's great because we all need it. We all need it. All right, leading into our next component, how trust. This is a good one. Compensation. Yeah.
And compensation is like during our compensation discussion, one of the, or the thing that we really talked a lot about is if it takes you more than 30 minutes to explain to someone why their pay is this and someone else's pay is this, then you need to look at it and figure out why. And I think people will trust you more if they feel like they are being ethically compensated.
Yes.
And that trust can be eroded really quick when they feel that there's a reason.
Yes.
That the pay is not where it should be.
Not where it should be. The word fairness comes to mind.
And fairness is very broad.
Yeah.
Just because you're not making the exact same amount as someone else doesn't necessarily mean it's not fair.
Right.
But it just, that's why I really like to talk about ethical.
Yes.
You've got to look at the pay ethically.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And we both have been at, a contracting company where, because of job costs and other things, there is more transparency in the pay. Yeah. And I think that makes it difficult sometimes for people to kind of know what a person's hourly rate is or know. Yeah, it's just hard to wrestle with that. Yeah. And like you said, it's not that there's not going to be discrepancies in people's salaries. That's reality. The question is, how do you explain that you are ethically paying a person what you're paying them for a reason, and give them opportunities to grow as well. So, compensation's a hard one because it is so connected to the heart. People connect. I have found, just coaching people throughout the years, people connect their compensation to who they are, their value. Yes.
Value. And and it's not 100% a transactional reaction.
That's right.
Emotion. It is a self-worth.
It is.
Reaction. I think probably more than what the dollar sign actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can a leader use ethical compensation to build trust? Is it, say if you go in and you're having a conversation with somebody and you do know you're going to give them a raise or something like that, like how do you just say, okay, I'm giving you a raise? How do you make it ethical? How do you make it so that the person gains trust and not just, well, I think they gave me this just to shut me up, or, there have been people who've mentioned things like that to me, and how do you make that trust show up in the conversation about it?
Hey, you want to take a time out because I need to think about this.
Yeah, this is a hard one.
Because I want to think about what I say here.
Yeah.
Because every time we've talked about this,
it's tricky.
I feel very...
It's a lot of pressure. I know.
Yeah, so
I was like, I'm going here. I don't know.
Let me go to the restroom and think about this. You think about...
Okay. So ethical compensation. When a leader is going to an employee to have the conversation about compensation, it's one of the most awkward things that happens for both parties. Mm-hmm. How can the leader increase trust with their employee when they're having that conversation? Say, okay, hey, we're giving you a raise. Then what explanation?
First of all, I think if the conversation is a surprise, there's probably been some communication lacking throughout the year.
Very
it's
good.
Just like when you're doing, if you're having an annual review, there shouldn't be anything new discussed.
It's wonderful.
I think you've got to be able to tie it to something tangible. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be able to take some feedback as the leader or as the boss man or whatever the boss is that's given the, given the raise. You've got to be able to accept some feedback.
Yes.
But I think if you're waiting until that one moment, then there has been an opportunity for a lot of good conversation throughout the years that was missed.
Yes, you're right. There should be no surprises in those kind of reviews. And that goes to one of our other components, feedback. If you're giving regular, timely feedback, nobody should be surprised. And nobody should walk in nervous to those annual reviews, in an irresistible workplace. They shouldn't anyway.
And, and it falls back to recognition. How do you sit there and let's say you recognize somebody throughout the year for doing great and wonderful things, and then you fail to show them the love and show them the money.
Show them the money, compensate them, right?
So all your actions have to speak the same language.
Right. Oh, that's good for trust, Tony. Say that again.
All your actions have to speak the same language.
And that language will increase trust. That's really, really good. Well, let's look at balance. So trust respects the whole person. So let's think about boundaries, think about when we say balance, we talk about an integrated work-life balance. Like there's time at work, there's time at home, there's time when you're at home at work, and times at work when home comes in. How does trust help leaders respect the whole person in an irresistible workplace?
And it's probably my favorite area because it's the area to me that if trust is lacking, it's very visible.
Okay.
Because like you said, the trust is built on the small things and not the huge things. And we all have things going on in our life. I had a recent boss, not that long ago, who literally every day, my mom was sick, really sick, at the end of life. And every day he and I had one-on-one conversations about it, whether if we were at the office together or if he was calling me or what. It was just, there was never a time that there wasn't an honest conversation about it. And to this day, I still think about that. And that to me is a prime example of building a trusting relationship. Because I know now if I went back and worked for Tommy Baker, that it would be the same. The trust would still be there. Yes. Just because I'm no longer working there doesn't mean that my level of trust is any less because of the conversations he and I had.
Just a regular check-in on how you were doing through a season of your life that would create imbalance in your work.
Even after I had been gone over a year, my dad got sick, and he was one of the first people that reached out to me.
Wow.
So
that's a trust builder right there. And when you said that and you were vulnerable sharing that, thank you. It kind of made me think of, I've been in a situation recently at work where I've had some health issues I'm dealing with, and I haven't been able to do what I say, my A game. I haven't been able to bring my A game. So, my boss, who's Joey right now, I was telling him, like, I can't explain it, but it's almost like I wasn't trusting myself. How can I make sure that you can trust me to get my work done in the best way I can when I'm struggling with this thing that's making my life feel out of balance a little at work? I'm feeling more like my person needs more attention than my work side right now. And he suggested, hey, what if we just check in every day a little bit? Like he goes, I call you around 4 o'clock and it could be 1 minute, 5 minutes. Like, are we good? Everything good? Anything you need? Yeah. And I said, let's try it. And that's really been amazing how it scared me a little bit at first. Oh no, he's going to call me and how am I going to feel? But it makes me know he's doing that because he knows that I'm struggling with my work-life balance because of some health stuff. So it's like, that's made it feel a lot better for me. And it's building the trust for me.
And one of the hardest things to do as a conscientious person is not to be on your A game.
Yes.
And take care of yourself. And sometimes you have to just realize that there are seasons or just small time frames that you may not be able to give 100%.
Yes.
Your 100% won't be what you think it should be.
It may look different, but if both parties can meet each other, like you said, trust is a two-way street. Like, hey, I was able to go to him and say, which again, psychological safety, right? I went to him first and I said, I'm concerned. I need to work from home a little bit more than I have. I need to do this or that. And I'm concerned that's not going to go well. And he heard me and we've worked it out. So for sure. Well, here's a question we could kind of leave people with. And I want to go back to your one-liner, which was so good. All my actions need to speak the same language for trust. But the question is, which of the 6 key components is most affected by the level of trust on my team? So if somebody's listening to this and thinking about their workplace, what is one leadership behavior I can change to strengthen it? That's maybe a good question to leave people with.
Is. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So trust isn't built all at once. It's built one leadership decision at a time.
One marble at a time.
That's right. All right. Good conversation. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.